DreAllDay.com.
You're now listening to the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there even when the success you've expected to achieve, where is it? It is yet to occur. And on top of all this, we're not done. You get a huge dose of personal initiative. That is the go-getter energy that moves all of us, including yourself, to go and make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. And then we put all this together into a series of frameworks, approaches, insights, strategies, and philosophies that in one actually overarching, one unifying philosophy that is called work on your game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. And today's topic is how to create your brand framework. Framework is something that we discussed here before. I'll get into that in a second, but first let me tell everybody that I have a daily motivation text message that I would like to send to you. I will send it to your phone every single morning. All you have to do to get that daily motivation text message is just text me at my number right now. Just say a quick hello. My number is 305-384-6894. Once you do that, we confirm you. You'll be getting that daily motivation text, and you can engage with me directly right there at my number. I do respond to my text messages and all of that, so you'll be able to just text me direct once you are confirmed and inside of my texting community in the gang. So all that being said, let's get into what we're talking about here today, which is how to create your brand framework. Now, I want to refer you to some previous episodes where I've talked about frameworks, and I'm going to let me give you a definition of a framework, just so everyone understands where we're working from here. Definition of a framework is a basic structure underlying a system, concept, or text. All right, that's all a framework is. It sounds like a big complicated word, but it's not really that complicated. Maybe when you try to apply it yourself, then it might start to become complicated, but that's the reason why Dre Baldwin is here, because we're going to simplify all of this and make it easy for you to understand, and more importantly, easy for you to actually apply. So in episode 1921, I gave you a 3-step framework for achievement. That's where I talked about mindset, strategy, and tactics. In episode 1912, I gave you a framework for being coached. If you are being coached by somebody or you would like to be coached, there is a way to receive that coaching. You don't just show up and whatever happens. Episode 1849, I gave you a framework for selling yourself, and that actually will go hand in hand what we're going to talk about here today. In episode 1760, another episode that'll work with this, a 4-step framework for promoting your stuff and getting attention. Any of you wants to do that. Episode 1739, how to teach anything, the point story application framework. Episode 1592, the work on your game framework for business and sports. That's where I laid out my own framework and tell you how I put my own together. And then in episode 1440, I explain how frameworks help you master the skill of organizing your knowledge. So this topic of creating your framework, this is something that I know a lot of entrepreneurs out there, a lot of solopreneurs, people who are building their brands, have challenges with. They're trying to figure out, how do I create my framework? Maybe you have some idea of what you want to give to people out there, but without the framework, it's hard for you to explain it. It's hard for other people to understand it, and that will make it virtually impossible for you to sell it to many people unless they have already gone deep into your world and deep into you. So the framework basically is going to make this really simple for you and really simple for them. So again, that definition is a framework is a basic structure underlying a system, concept, or text. This is the structure of what you offer to your target audience. That's all a framework is, just structuring what you're offering to people so that, again, so they can understand it without you having to give your entire life story or your entire business story. It sounds like a complicated word, but it is simple when you can understand it. Now, creating one, that is not always so simple. But this is what this episode is about. I'm going to walk you through the steps that you're going to follow in creating your framework. Point number 1, the topic again today, how to create your brand framework. First thing you got to do is decide what outcome you will help people reach. That's the first thing you do. What is the outcome you're going to help people achieve? Based on your intellectual property, based on whatever game you are giving out there, based on what type of people you're trying to help, what challenges you see they have, whatever results you're going to help people get, you need to figure out what that is. What is the outcome that working with you is going to help people reach? And we can get very detailed on this. We can go deep into the weeds on this, on a lot of things as far as how you're separating yourself from who your possible competition might be, what's going to be your unique selling proposition that makes you the only option when there may be others who are selling a similar offer or maybe claiming to be able to help people achieve a similar outcome. But we're not going to go into all that here today. First of all, let's just get clear on what is the outcome you're going to help people reach. Outcome is basically the top of the building. If you're building a 20-story skyscraper, outcome is the roof of the building. The framework is basically the ladder that's going to help people climb up to the top of the building. Let me say that again. The outcome that people are going to achieve is like somebody standing on the roof of the building. Your framework is the ladder that people climb, or the elevator that people will take in order to go from the ground floor all the way up to the top of the building. Your framework is going to help people get to the top of the building, help them climb that ladder or take the escalator or the elevator up. When you can help people achieve an outcome, a specific outcome, you can lay out exactly what that outcome is. You can say, I'm going to help you achieve outcome X, and you know that you can do it. All you have to do is deconstruct your process, and that's how you create your framework. So if you know you can help somebody lose 25 pounds, and it doesn't matter who they are, but you can help them lose 25 pounds, all you need to do is deconstruct how you help people lose 25 pounds. And when you can codify that and lay it out, that's episode 1101, codification. When you can lay out exactly what steps someone can take to achieve that outcome, and then you can explain it in a way that someone who does not know your work, they don't know your industry, they are not an expert like you are, they are a lay person, and you can explain it in a way that even they can understand, then you have a framework. Then you have codified your process. Then at that point, you can pretty much sell anything to your target audience once you have a framework in place. But this first step, you got to be clear on what your outcome is. The biggest challenge that I see with many solopreneurs and fledgling brand builders out there is they want to put their work out there and they have an idea of what types of things they want to share. Their challenge is they don't know what outcome they can help people achieve. They don't know what they're actually helping people do. So one way to let me help you in understanding what outcome you help people reach is you should talk to the people who have already purchased from you. People who are already following you or are subscribed to you, or they like your stuff, they're listening to your stuff, they're telling you that they're getting value from what you offer. You need to ask those people, what is it that you're getting from me? What is it that you get from me that you would not get from someone else who might be in the same field or might be in the same space or is claiming to help achieve the same outcome? What are you getting from me that separates me from the competition? And let your audience or your customers or your clients, let them tell you exactly what it is. They will help you create your framework because they're going to tell you specifically what it is about you that is separating you from everyone else out there. And you need to know you're going to need to know what this is, because this will help you create your USP, which is your unique selling proposition. But first, we're going to get to the framework. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. When you can help people achieve a specific outcome, all you're going to do next is deconstruct the process. Now let's move on to point number 2. Today's topic, once again, is creating your brand framework. What are the steps to getting there? What are the steps for someone actually getting to the outcome that you say you can help people get to? An example of this, giving people the steps, is go grab any book that you own. It doesn't have to be a book you wrote, but any book. One of my books is fine. A book that you have in your Amazon Kindle and iBooks, any book. All right, now you have the book. Here's all I need you to do. Turn to the table of contents. As long as the book has a table of contents, turn to the table of contents. Now, as you're looking through the table of contents, let me tell you what you're looking at. You are looking at the framework of the book. Because what is the author doing in the table of contents? Any book that you read or write, what is the table of contents doing? It's telling you, before you do it, what steps you're going to follow in order to get through this book. In order to get everything that this book has to offer, here's what you're going to get first. That's chapter 1. Here's next, chapter 2, chapter 3, chapter 4, all the way through to the end of the book. The author is telling you the framework of what they're offering. And this is the next time that you go, any of you who likes to cook, and you buy a box of cake mix or whatever product you make stuff with, but you get your recipe off the internet. If your recipe is on the side of the box when you make food, look at that recipe. What is a recipe? A recipe is nothing but a framework for how you make the dish, whatever it's going to be. Remember the definition of a framework: a basic structure underlying a system, concept, or text. Is the basic structure of how everything's going to work. A recipe is a basic structure. A table of contents is a basic structure. Any of you who's going to, when you're in college and the professor gives you the syllabus at the beginning of the semester, what is the syllabus? The syllabus is a framework for not exactly what the teacher's going to teach, because you already know what they're going to teach because that's the name of the class, right? Communication, science, math, whatever. The framework is how the teacher is going to teach it, because each professor can, they do things how they want to do things. So the syllabus is a professor's way of letting you know, here's how things are going to go this semester in this class. And another good thing about the syllabus, it lets you decide, all right, do I want to keep this class or do I want to drop this class and maybe take something else? Maybe this class is not really going to be for me, not because you didn't know the subject, but because maybe you don't like the way that you're going to be evaluated, and then you have that choice. So the recipe on the side of a box, table of contents in a book, and anytime that you have proof that your steps work, if you have proof that someone following this recipe equals a great meal, you have proof that someone reading this book is going to get a great result, it's great if you have those on hand, because you can use those to entice people to follow your framework. Okay, this framework may look daunting, it might look challenging, but look at this beautiful cake and tasty, delicious cake that somebody made following the recipe last week. Or this table of contents might seem like a long book, but listen to all these testimonials of people who got great results from reading this book and applying what I tell them through this framework that is a table of contents. So having proof that what you do works will help a lot. So one thing you can do, let's just say you're just starting out, you don't have any proof yet, use yourself as an example. I would think if you're putting out a framework that can help people achieve a specific outcome, you have some reason to believe you can help people achieve that outcome. And I'm thinking one of those reasons might be that you have already achieved it yourself. I can, for example, I can write a book about how to play professional basketball overseas, even when you're unknown and nobody knows who you are. You don't have an agent, you don't have any connections. I can write a book and tell people, here's the framework for doing that. Why? Because I did it for myself. So once I did it, all I had to do was deconstruct how did I climb the ladder and get to the top of the building. Let me just break down what I did and then explain it to other people. Now, this will require you to have the skill of codification, which means you have to be able to explain how you did something. And that sounds, again, for me to say it, I'm listening to it, it sounds very simple to me because I have the skill of codification, but not everybody has the skill. Not everyone is very artful at explaining what they do. There are people who can do things, but they're not good at explaining it. So your ability to explain what you do in such a way to someone who does not understand it, and so that they can get it and they can understand it and they can apply it and actually get a result from it, that will play a huge role in how well you'll do at selling your stuff. Because just because you did it doesn't mean everybody else can do it. I mean, just because somebody has big muscles doesn't mean they can teach somebody else how to get big muscles, because they may not respond to things the same way that you did. So you have to be able to, first of all, figure out who you want to help, and then figure out how do you communicate with them. And this is all a part of a much bigger conversation, but I'm just dropping some hints for you. But let me not give you too much because I don't want to confuse you. Let's keep our eyes on the prize here, which is developing your framework. So another thing you can do, if you're newer or new, and you don't have any proof that your framework works, because human beings, we all like to see social proof. We're going to buy something, we like to look at the reviews, right? We want to see testimonials of somebody else who went through the same process and they got the result that you are claiming you can help people get. I want to know that you can actually produce that result. Show me some proof. And one thing you can do if you're newer is go get some people who are willing to be your test subjects. They're your beta testers, so to speak. And let's say you have a new course out and you get 20 people and you take them through the entire course. You teach the entire course to them and you make sure that they're following your framework that you've laid out, help them all get a result, and then get testimonials from each one of them in exchange for you giving them the course. And you're not going to charge them. So you're going to take them through it and not charge them. The reason that you're not going to charge them because they're going to help you out by being your test subjects. And they're going to give you testimonials based on how great of a result that they got. So you get something and they get something because they get the actual framework and they get a result. So everybody wins here. And they're going to give you testimonials that you're going to leverage and use and let everybody else know, hey, if you follow my framework, look at these 20 people. They got a great result from it. And now you can use that as social proof for you to sell it to somebody else. So they can be your beta testers. Maybe some of you have been part of a beta test before, or maybe you have done it yourself already. Another example that is maybe offline, not really intellectual property example, actually it kind of is, but any of you who is or knows someone who's a tattoo artist, and maybe some of you have maybe signed up for this. Tattoo artists, when they first get started, one of the things that they are told, and I've heard multiple tattoo artists say this, I have tattoos, so I've talked to them, they tell me this stuff, is that they get told by their coworkers or their bosses, hey, call some of your friends and tell them you will give them a free tattoo if they allow you and they understand that you are practicing. So their tattoo, it may not be perfect because you're brand new, you're learning how to tattoo, but the only way you're really going to get good at it is if you have to actually give some real tattoos to some actual human beings. So you call your friends up, let them know, look, I'm new at being a tattoo artist and I'm practicing, but I'll give you a tattoo for free if you let me practice on you. And I remember the woman who gave me this tattoo that says work on your game on my arm, she wasn't new when she did this tattoo, but I was just, chatting her up while she's doing the work. And she told me when she first got started, that's how she did. She got started by calling her friends up and saying, look, I'll give you a tattoo for free, just as long as you understand, here's a disclaimer, it might not be perfect because I'm new and I'm learning. And that's how she got into the game. So get some people who are willing to be test subjects rather for your framework, and they can be the proof that you're actually good. Moving on, point number 3. Today's topic, once again, is creating a framework for your brand and what you're offering. And understand you're not limited to one framework. You can have more than one. I have multiple frameworks. Work on your game is a framework. The third day, for example, is a framework in itself, and I have many others. Anyway, point number 3, give your framework some secret sauce. What you must do is you must make your framework or multiple frameworks, they must be proprietary in such a way that only you can say it and only you can use it. For example, work on your game is a proprietary framework. I actually own the phrase work on your game. I own the trademark. That gives it the secret sauce that makes it proprietary. Another thing that makes it proprietary is not necessarily about you filing paperwork with the Patent and Trademark Office, even though you can do that and many brands and businesses do. It's about you owning it and using it so much and saying it so much and creating the most material around it that if anybody mentions it, your name's eventually going to come up. It's going to come up actually pretty quickly. If someone Googles it, they're going to see your name simply because you have used that framework so many times that you own it in people's minds. It's not even about necessarily you owning it like on paper that somebody has to pay you money if they infringe on your copyright. Yes, that can be part of it, but the real way of owning your framework is you saying it so much and using it so much that if somebody else brings it up, your name has to come up. It's owned in the mind. And we all have heard the phrase that perception is reality, right? That's what you want. So I'm Googling work on your game right now. When I Google work on your game, the first thing that comes up is my book, Work on Your Game. The next result is my book, Work on Your Game, on Amazon. The next thing that comes up is my website, Dre Baldwin, Work on Your Game. Then the Work on Your Game podcast comes up. Then there's a little author box about me. And then some of my books come up. Then my YouTube channel. Then some videos that they have selected, then Goodreads, then my LinkedIn profile, then workonmygame.com. But all of this stuff is based on me. I'm telling you this not to impress you, but to impress upon you. And other thought leaders who are in this space, their frameworks have become proprietary to them as well. Now, on the other hand, if I look up the third day is not a brand new phrase that I made up. There was a TV show, I guess, called The Third Day that was out just last year. So that's the first thing that comes up. They don't have very great ratings on IMDb, but maybe I'll be able to take this over at some point. The Third Day has a website on HBO. There's a series entry in Wikipedia. There's a bunch of reviews for this TV show. This is on HBO, so this is a pretty big TV show. So who knows if I'll be able to catch them. But let's just say I put in the word book. The Third Day book. If I put that in, then you see my actual book. The Third Day is on there. And there's another man who wrote a book called The Third Day. It looks like it's a novel. There's another one about reality of the resurrection. Because the third day is I think there's some religious connotation that goes with it. A couple books about it. So I still got some work to do to get the third day up here at the top of this. Who knows if it will even get there. But the book called The Third Day, people understand that. So your framework, and the point of me saying all that is that your framework, you want to make it proprietary. You want to put some secret sauce on it so that you are the owner of that framework. Some people do this through, as I said, actual documentation, trademarks, patents. Others by using it so much that their name becomes synonymous with it. Ideally, you'll do a combination of both. So me, Work on Your Game, Amazon, for example, has the everything store. You bring up the everything store, eventually Amazon's name is going to come up in that conversation, even if someone else uses it for something else. If I started a movement, let's say today, I wanted to create a new framework. And I call my framework, Just Do It. Eventually, somebody, actually pretty quickly, somebody will say, well, Dre, isn't that Nike's thing? Like, well, why would you say that? Because you have Nike and Just Do It have become synonymous. That's what I mean by owning your framework and making it proprietary. You want your framework to have the kind of stickiness to where even if someone else brings up that phrase, the first thing they think about is you. For example, someone sent me a DM on Instagram a couple weeks ago, and they were playing NBA 2K. And there was a part in there where you could, like, I don't play video games, but there's a section in NBA 2K where you can practice your basketball skills, and it was called Work on Your Game, shooting drills, work on your game, dribbling. And somebody took a screenshot of it and sent it to me and said, hey, they're using work on your game in the game. And it was a good moment for me because, not because the NBA 2K used it, but because of the fact that when this person saw it, the first thing they thought about was, hey, work on your game, that's Dre Baldwin. So that's what I mean when I say making your framework sticky to where people can remember it. The third day, the super you. These are all frameworks of mine that I'm not just saying, hey, here's how to be confident. Here's how to be disciplined. No, and here's the mindset of an athlete. All right, those are not proprietary because anybody can say that. But when I say work on your game, that's more proprietary. It's something that I made up and I own it, even though somebody else might be talking about a similar thing. Their framework, is their framework stickier than mine? Probably not. Hopefully not. But if it is, then I'm going to beat them. Anyway, move on. Point number 4. Today's topic, once again, is how to create your brand framework. This one's actually not really a point, but if you want to get help with your specific framework, I've told you everything you need to do to create your framework here. I'm never going to tell you what to do without also giving you some steps on how to get it done. I'm giving you the game here. If you want to get some feedback on your specific framework and you want to fill in that framework, you want to make sure you have some substance inside of that framework, because once you have your framework in place, you not only need the steps, but you also, again, you got to be able to explain this to another person and show it to them to where they can take 1 minute looking at it and they understand not only what they're going to get as the result, but also how you're going to take them through it. What are the steps you're going to take them through? So if you look at something like my sales pages, or you look at any of the emails that I send out when I'm making a pitch to you to sell something, I'm giving you a framework often of what I'm actually going to help you do. I'm not giving you the whole thing, but I'm giving you a framework of how I'm going to actually help you to hopefully entice you into taking the next step and actually making the purchase. So inside of Work on Your Game University, the group program that is out now, we got 2 of them, one for mindset called Bulletproof Mindset. The other one is called Brand and Business. That is self-explanatory, I think, by the title. Inside of there, you will be able to share your frameworks. We'll talk about your frameworks. You can get help directly from me about your frameworks and from other people inside the university, feedback on your framework. So any of you who is looking to build your framework, or you want to tighten it up, or you want to just get feedback on your framework and create future frameworks, you should join Work on Your Game University. So just go to workonyourgameuniversity.com and let's get started. So let's recap today's class, which is how to create your brand framework. Framework being defined as a basic structure underlying a system, concept, or text. This is the structure of what you're offering your target audience. Point number 1, decide what outcome you're going to help people reach. When you can help people reach an outcome, all you have to do is deconstruct the process of how you did it and then just teach other people to do the same thing. Number 2, what are the steps to actually getting there? What are the steps to in that deconstruction? So when a book gives you its table of contents, it's telling you the steps that you're going to get in reading the book. When you read the recipe for making some food, they're giving you the steps on creating that cake or making that chicken and dumplings, whatever it's going to be. Any proof that you have that these steps actually work will help you even more. We call that social proof. Use yourself as an example first, and then find some people who are willing to be your test subjects to help you prove the value of your framework. Number 3, give it some secret sauce. Make it proprietary in such a way that only you can say it and that you own it in the minds of other people. That is what branding is about, literally. So Dre Baldwin has Work on Your Game. Amazon has the Everything Store. Nike has Just Do It. Just some examples of frameworks that are owned. Is the ownership in the mind. It's not the documentation and the legal stuff, but the ownership in the mind that matters even more than all of that. And point number 4, you want to get some help with your specific framework and future frameworks, then the best place to get that help is inside of Work on Your Game University. We have a member-only community where you can get help directly from me. You're going to get feedback from me and other members of the university on anything business, anything mindset in the specific respective groups. That is all at workonyourgameuniversity.com. So the last thing I'll tell you here today is send me a text and make sure you get my daily motivation. My number is 305-384-6894. Work on your game. Dre all